Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Timers Podcast here today, episode 52 here with Macaulay and Owen. How are you doing? My voice is screwed because you can tell I'm wearing the same shirt as episode 50. Yeah, I know I've already recorded 51. My recording schedule was all over the gaff. Um, so I've already recorded episode 50 today, and I'm recording this one. But I've got these two chats with me to talk about the Doctor Who movie, which I believe is called Doctor and the Daleks. Owen, tell me I'm right. Thank you.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, cool. How are you both? Please speak. Have a conversation amongst yourselves. I'll just sit here and cry.
No, I'm not doing too bad. Keeping busy with DIY and stuff and catching up on the season 8 box set. But apart from that, doing well.
Yeah, I've nearly finished my season 8 box set. I watched. I'm on the bonus disc now. I watched the interview with Katie Manning that's done by is it Matthew Sweet? Is that his name?
I'm not sure. I've not got to that part yet. I've literally just been watching because I've watched all the episodes first and then went on to sort of like the bonuses on each disc. And then now I'm on the bonus disc, and I've watched one thing on there.
So do
I can't remember what
you?
it was.
So, for example, if you put in Terror of the Autons, do you just watch the episode and that's it, and then move on to the next disc and watch the next episode?
Well, what I usually do is that I'll watch the story and then straight after that I'll watch Behind the Sofa. So
Yeah.
I've done those already.
I
So
I made a very executive decision. Just to quickly bump in because my PlayStation 4 broke the day after the box set was here, and literally 2 hours before I was watching the Terror of the Autons disc, but I took it out to put a game in. So if I didn't do that, I would have had to have deconstructed the entire PS4 to ship out the disc and try and grab Terror of the Autons. But Terror of the Autons is safe. I'm now waiting on the PS5, but there are no drops at the minute, so it's a bit difficult. Yeah, yeah.
I was going to go for a digital edition, and then I thought, hang on,
Why? No,
no, I'm
don't
still
go,
going
don't
to
go
need a
digital.
Blu-ray player. I'm
Exactly.
still
Yeah,
going to need a
don't
Blu-ray player.
digital, and then you're stuck at Sony's prices, which is like hella expensive. You
Yeah.
don't want to pay Sony prices for games. Sorry, Sony. But
No. And yeah, it ruins the second-hand market as well. Like, you could buy a second-hand game for a tenner, or the only option you have is then buying a digital one. And if you buy a digital game, then like you can't sell it.
exactly.
So that's my reason.
Exactly.
You'd save more money in the long run that way. Plus Blu-ray player, yeah. It does a season 8 box set though. I do exactly the same with what you do, Owen, but probably in reverse. I watched the Behind the Sofa first.
Okay.
Yeah, I just really enjoy it. It's my favorite feature of like the whole box sets. It's like Doctor Who does Gogglebox, and I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I like watching the stories that have been sort of. I mean, obviously they've all mostly been remastered as much as they possibly can, and then you've got all the new special effects and CSO and CGI and all that with some of them as well, and then so for example, watching Terror of the Autons, watching that with the special effects, and then going on to watching Behind the Sofa, and then seeing like how it was because they're watching the DVD version,
Yeah,
and then seeing the comparison, and then you spot things. Oh yeah, because that's different, and that's different, and you tend to spot things you
yeah.
didn't see before.
Which is what I do,
Um,
but the other way around. And it's so interesting, especially with Terror, like the amount of effort that's gone into that, especially with the CSO stuff, is insane.
yeah, I mean that kitchen is such an improvement.
Yeah.
Is it the security kitchen? No. Yeah, I was lucky to be one of the many people on the TSV this past weekend. Well, actually, probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks by the time this comes out. 'Cause I don't know when it's coming out. So there could be Doctor Who news by then. Who knows? But yeah. That I was on with Chris Chapman, Pete Mattig, all those guys, Lee Binding, others, Paul Veneers, and essentially they give them 50 minutes of the episode to watch. I thought it was just clips, and they were like, "Oh, look at that funny clip of Doctor Who." No. But no, they give him a 50-minute cut, like an omnibus, which I thought that's it. Like for the seasons, like season 14, where there's 6 stories. Like they watch that the same. That's a long shift. Like, like you could get away with it with the McCoy ones because it's four part, 4 stories. It's an easy day.
yeah,
But Christ, But I haven't been able to watch any season 8 yet because I literally don't have a Blu-ray player at the minute. So I really hope I can get my hands on a PS5 before I move back. Fingers crossed. Because my
Yeah,
friend just
there's
said
some
get
of
a
the
PS4, but literally Macaulay and Owen will say there's no point in getting a PS4 if I still plan to get a PS5 anyway. Like,
exactly.
it's the point.
Yeah,
You
you
just have
you
to
best just
wait.
sort of, as painful it is waiting, it's best just to wait it out until you do get a PS5.
Why are we waiting?
Yeah. Why are we waiting?
Yes.
But yeah, with the bonuses, I watched about 3 of them last night, I think, because after watching Colony in Space, because I did Demons first, because of the watch along, and then yeah, onto the second disc of Colony, they had one episode on there. I think it's episode 2, and it was an early. I think it was an early edit, and it was in HD. Um, and so I just watched that. So yeah, just watching that episode all over again. I don't know why, but I mean, to me,
It's
it didn't
because we're
really
Doctor
seem
Who
to.
fans and we're mad and we watch these things for no reason. So
To me, it just didn't seem much different to um, the same episode on disc 1. But
it's probably
yeah, and then
sacrilege
after
to
that,
some people.
Most
I
likely.
went on to watching the direct route, I think it was called. So you've got um, Tim Coombs, Graham Harper, and Michael E. Bryant going around visiting all the locations used in that series. And then I think the one that fascinated me more was the one that they use in Colony in Space, because you see it in Colony in Space, and it's just like a clay quarry, and it's just completely grey and dull and miserable looking. But you see it as it is now, and it's full of this greenery and water, and it's beautiful now compared to what it was.
Yeah,
And they're going to be doing some development on it apparently.
I guess the colony actually worked in the end for it to
Yeah,
terraform. Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, personally, I think they should just leave it alone and let nature take its course on it. So I think it looks amazing.
yeah.
And then after that, I watched Living with Levine. Was that on the Colony in Space DVD? Because it had the copyright of 2013 on it.
It must have been.
Because I don't think I'd ever heard of it before.
I'm not sure, but I think it's one of those DVDs where the story wasn't the best story, so you didn't really pay much attention to it.
Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, I watched that, and for most part of it, Toby Haydock just looked like he was in pain just being there, and
Just
looked
like
just
you two
constantly
in this
on
current
edge.
podcast. No, I'm joking.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
he's like censored 3 times. Um, Levine, that is not Haydock, and then ends up talking like saying this joke about a vibrator. You think, is this appropriate?
I don't want to
Yeah.
know about Toby Haydock's vibrator.
Wait till you get to
Um,
Katie Manning's interview. It gets a bit in that as well.
Is the season 8 box set just very saucy?
I think
Yeah.
sometimes Katie just forgets she's being recorded, and she's just sort of like,
I think Katie's just Katie, isn't it?
yeah. I mean,
Who's not
I
Katie?
don't know if you've ever heard the commentary on Death of the Doctor on the. I'm not sure if it's on the. Where did I watch it on? It was on the Green Death DVD because they had that on as a bonus on there.
What is a
Um,
DVD?
but I think they've then also put it on the Blu-ray as well. And yeah, the commentary between her and Russell T Davies is just hilarious because they're like 2 giggly school children, and then they sort of like go to say something that's a bit probably a bit risque, and then they oh no, hang on, we can't say that here. There might be children listening.
You almost want
Um,
like an R-rated version of that conversation,
yeah,
don't you? Yeah.
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 But
Yep.
at some point I'll give a watch the rest of the stuff on the bonus disc. So I'm looking forward to watching the Katie interview, and also Terence and me as well, because it was all sort of filmed in my area where I live.
Nice.
So yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Terence and me.
Yeah, I always enjoy those moon balloon films. They do such a good job on those.
Yeah, another cracking box set, season 8. Like, yeah.
I thought it was shit, to be honest with you. I mean, John Pertwee, who likes that? I'm joking. Every single set has love.
You just lost.
I was gonna say, you ain't even bloody seen
every single set has love, and yeah, but we all know every single set is of the same quality because they have each individual set has the same amount of love and care and everything put into it, which is the reason why we probably haven't had sets like season 20 that have been rumored, because they could release them, but they wouldn't be as good as they want them to be, and that's why they haven't done it. You know, so massive respect.
You sort of redeemed yourself there, Alex, because that Pertwee comment would have got rid of all of your 3 listeners.
All of the YouTube audience are gone, but the roughly on average, actually, Macauly on average actually get 37 listeners an episode over the audio.
Probably would have cleared away some of the hosts.
What do you want from me, Macauly? Tens of thousands?
Yes.
Hashtag
where's your sponsorship?
Times podcast cancelled.
Yeah, it's sponsored by Surfshark.
Nice. Yeah.
Macauly, you said there was some merch or something, right? I don't actually know what this is about. He just said that something came out today as we are filming.
Oh yeah, they announced the new Funko game expansion today. So there's have you seen this, Owen?
Yes, they've released some Doctor Who characters on there.
Yeah, so it's Funko Pop Blitz, I think is the game's called, which is essentially Candy Crush but with pop figures, and you collect them digitally, all these different figures and stuff, different franchises. And today they announced they're adding 5 Doctor Who ones, which is kind of
sounds a bit like that game they did, Doctor Who Legacy, and you actually sort of collect all the characters.
Yeah, which is kind of odd they announced that today, because in the last week or so there's been sort of talk about them dropping the license because Funko vaulted every single Doctor Who product they owned, essentially.
Yeah.
Including like the pairs, the key rings, obviously the pops and stuff like that. So people were saying that they dropped the license, which is kind of confusing that they've now announced this. So are we going to get some more products?
I mean, it's
what was the point? What was the point of putting them in the game and making a thing of it if they're not going to produce any more products? Like,
yeah, it just seems that at the moment their figures, they have like a new figure, and then after so long of it being out, it will then be vaulted, and they'll stop doing it. And at the moment on the Doctor Who front, it's been really, really quiet. They've not released any more.
I've got all of them here in the background, the Doctor Who ones. And the last one they released, I think, was the Pating, I believe.
Yeah, because they did the Pating, Tim Shaw, and they also did the Kablam Man, 13th Doctor with goggles, and the Reconnaissance Dalek.
And they did one more, I think. What was the other one?
Oh, Missy?
Yeah, they did Missy. They did the Vashta Narada. And that was the last wave because they changed the packaging style, because it all started off with this like yellowy colour one. And then
was the Vashta Narada one a glow in the dark?
Yeah, it's really cool actually. Yeah, and obviously we had the San
Diego.
Diego.
That was a convention exclusive because I've never seen that.
Yeah, it was a New York one.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so they changed it to this packaging from this pop onwards.
Yeah, because they did it with that and Missy.
That Missy, yeah, and then and they did it with the Clara tribute TARDIS as well.
Right, okie dokie.
But they were the only 3 that got that new packaging, because the new Jodie packaging changed again to that yellow.
Yeah.
Again, but not. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like all the merchandise at the moment, they're just moving on to that sort of blue and grey silver style packaging, and they've ditched the sort of blue and yellow.
Yeah, which I think works. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
it look more premium, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of branding tends to, like, brands do that with their branding. They tend to opt with more grey because it just looks more, as you say, premium and, a bit more professional looking, I suppose,
Yeah,
in a
the
way.
greys, the royal blues, the silvers, the blacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nice.
So no, I can't tell you about Funko Pops because I've never owned one in my life.
I've only got one.
I bought one to throw out the window
It's a
once.
K9.
That was it.
Here
Because
he is.
it was at the
I've got
time of
K9
it was at the time of Civil War, and someone bought me, like, I think it must have been Bucky or a Winter Soldier pop, and I think they're both bland, which is why I'm not incredibly looking forward to Falcon and Winter Soldier. But again, though, episode 1 hasn't even come out yet when we're recording this, so it could be great in 2 episodes, and I'm loving it. But I threw Bucky out the window.
Wow.
Anyway, I'll let Owen take the lead on explaining what we're reviewing this week because he wanted to do this. So I didn't even, like, he literally, like, 2 weeks ago, the conversation, like, we were all on Zoom, and was like, "Oh, did Doctor Who movie?" Macauly was like, "Oh, why not?" And I was like, didn't even say yes yet.
I think the main reason we're doing it is because the fact that I hadn't seen it or hadn't given it a fair chance.
Neither have I. I hadn't seen it either.
I've never got past the first 10 minutes, which I'll explain why in due course.
Okay, right. So, Doctor Who and the Daleks, which stars Peter Cushing as Doctor Who, because that's what he's called in this, as opposed to the BBC television series where he's called the Doctor. And then you've also got the amazing Roy Castle, who I think he appeared in Carry On films.
He did.
And did that sort of stuff with Pinewood. And then you've also got Jenny Linden, who plays the eldest granddaughter, and then Roberta Tovey, who plays little Susan.
Yeah.
So I think there's a great cast there.
Yeah. So going on what you were saying about Roy Castle being in Carry On, so I've written some notes. Because, I've been prepared.
Okay.
So
right. I was just thinking, as like a format for this, because there's 3 of us, should we all give our general opinions first and then go into stuff? Do you think that'd be better, or do you think just go into?
I think we just do it in chronological order. So we just talk about it in like certain bits, and then just see what each of us say.
All right, I'll start. The first 5 minutes are god awful. It's one of the worst openings to any film I've ever watched in my life.
Well, it is a bit slow to start off with.
No, it's nothing to do with that. I will admit that. It's too fast because they're like, right, in this film, we can't open it like the Daleks, so we have to introduce Ian as this new boyfriend, and he gets within the TARDIS within 3 minutes, and they're off. And he doesn't care that this man has put a police box on the bigger on the inside, looks at it outside and goes,
I suppose they do just want to, get to the point of it.
But it makes
it is an adaptation of a TV. It makes
no sense.
Series.
They could have at least had a scene of the Doctor explaining something. Like,
you mean Doctor Who?
Oh, sorry, Doctor Who, explaining something to Ian, but no. And they have this really weird gag where he forgets his name the whole. I don't know, which obviously is not in the serial, and it's like, it's not funny. It's weird. The first 5 minutes as well, because the one thing I will say about this film overall, it looks wonderful for a 1960s film, and it genuinely looks beautiful. But the set they've got of the house looks really shit. The TARDIS looks really shit. Like. The stuff on Skaro is great, like, in terms of how it looks. We'll get into the story elements later on. Also, I haven't really watched the Dalek serial, but I can tell you this first 5 minutes was not in it. Although they were like, right, so we're going to do an established serial. How do we get it going? Because at the end of the original serial, they're all together, right? 5 minutes. He's a new boyfriend. Susan and this is a bit sassy. She, like, it's like, what's going on?
Soft centers, that's what's going on.
Yeah, so what I'd written down essentially, which I think sums up the first sort of 10 minutes, is it was like a Carry-On film, I thought. The first sort of like 10 minutes, like the cheesiness. Yeah. Even Barbara looks like Barbara Windsor with her blonde sort of beard. Right.
But saying that,
Uh,
it is the 60s, and it was all done by
yeah,
Pinewood, so I suppose it was just
it
sort of
fits in that sort of bubble, doesn't it? With like
yeah.
most cheesy sort of hammer horror films and things as well. Like,
Mm.
but yeah, I haven't really seen Peter Cushing anything else really apart from Star Wars. So
Star Wars. What's that? Star Wars.
yeah, yeah. So we had Dr. Grand Moff Tarkin who in his TARDIS. As Alex said, I wasn't a fan of the first sort of 5-10 minutes, which is why I've never really given the movie a chance, just because, as a kid, diehard Doctor Who fan, you know the facts in your head. And when you watch this movie, coming into it, I personally can't get past that first bit of him being Doctor Who. And why is Susan a child, like a really young child? It's just a bit odd for me. And Barbara's obviously her sister in this. And yeah, Ian as a boyfriend doesn't quite fit in my head, but after carrying on through that first 10 minutes, it's it picks up and it's just like a normal film.
And a film that I find incredibly dull. Oh no.
So, Owen, do you want to talk about what happens next? So we've gone in the TARDIS. We've obviously accidentally pushed the lever.
Yeah.
Where the fuck they turned up?
So they basically open the doors, and obviously with this police box it's different. The doors open outwards as opposed to the TV series where all the doors open inwards. And they've landed on this jungle looking planet, except all the life on it seems to be petrified. You just touch a tree branch and it'll just snap off in your hands. And they're just sort of discovering all this weird phenomenon around them. So the petrified jungle, and there's this flower and everything. It's all delicate and everything. And then there's a weird statue of a dragon, or maybe the dragon's petrified. I don't exactly know. And then eventually they come across this city, but Ian's a bit too chicken to go and discover what it is. So they go back to the police box, and then try and get back home, except the Doctor Doctor Who has sabotaged the TARDIS by taking out the fluid link, or knocking it out of place so it won't work, just so they can go back to the Dalek city so they can explore it and claim to get some more mercury for the fluid link. And then on the way there, they then sort of have to try and work a way of getting into the Dalek city. Obviously struggling to find a way. Well, Ian anyway, because I think it's that sort of slapstick comedy with Pinewood, that just make it difficult for him, really.
He does seem to have that
And
sort of aspect all the way through the film, I think. Like, he's just a bit,
yeah,
at times he's a
yeah,
bit gormless, at times he's a bit ditzy. It's, yeah.
yeah. And then everyone has to sort of come back out again to help
Yeah.
Ian. And then they have to get in eventually, and then Barbara ends up being ambushed by a Dalek, backed into a corner.
Yeah, this is where I get really nitpicked, right? So obviously this is an adaptation of the serial, and I'm not judging it based on that because I haven't seen it. But I will say there are bits that this could be in the serial as well, and I don't have a problem with it. So there's a bit where they go into the Dark City, and to open a door, they need to sit on a stool or something, right? And
Yeah.
I don't get it because a Dalek couldn't fucking do that.
So I've written half a page on just the doors. It's captured doors. Like,
How does it work? How does it work? I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
So I've got a whole paragraph about that whole scene. So
And
obviously,
look,
how did the Daleks sit on the seat? How did they do it?
yeah, I don't get it. And look, you could say it's the 60s, let it go, but no, because they look, and if television should be held to the same standards in terms of storytelling as I'll let effects and visuals and all that go, but that's ridiculous. Like it's like they're going, oh, and it's just for a little gag, and then essentially Doctor Who and Ian have to keep the door open for little. By the way, I'll say this Susan way better than the Susan in the series. I don't mind this Susan. I quite like it. I think she's actually got a bit of character, which is something that the other Susan doesn't have. And she's less moany. And she does some shit. So yeah,
and I'm sure she'll, happily, stand right next to you at a convention. Yeah, pre-COVID times, and maybe post when it's all over with. As opposed to Susan from the TV series, who stands about a mile away from you. For what I've seen, anyway.
But yeah, that door scene. So obviously, Ian's trying to get through the doors. He's doing this weird sort of like time thing where he touches it and runs to the door, and he fails every time. And even though he knows it's not fast enough, he's still not taking the hint. And obviously, Barbara screams, and then they run through the next door without touching anything. Like, yeah, just odd. And then they obviously do it with Susan, and Susan fucking beats him anyway. And when she goes for it, it's just, yeah. It's just Ian, I think, just pulled the short straw in this film.
Yeah, and like
he's the short straw person.
Like, and also, So that, by the way, I think we have to admit the sets look incredible. Like this whole area looks legitimately great. Like I watched it, and I went, this looks like mega. Like I wasn't looking at that going, that looks cheap. I was going, I thought this would look a lot more shit. Like even the outside.
I'll tell you what would disappoint you though was that, because obviously where I've got this 4K television now, and I've got a copy of it on Blu-ray. When they're outside the Dalek city, to the left-hand side of the doors, sort of like, or rather around sort of like the door section, on the walls, it's got this sort of like bronze textured effect on it, and it's basically textured wallpaper with bronze paint on it. Because I just sort of like, hang on, I recognise that style of wallpaper. So yeah, that's basically what they've done to style the walls of the city.
Yeah, it's So, but no, I do appreciate it, and because Owen, you messaged me, and essentially, although I don't agree with you on this point, you were like, you have to take it in the context. It's the first time they've seen the Daleks in color, and look, the Daleks look incredible. There is no doubt, in the Daleks look insane.
They do. I've literally written down like the Daleks look fucking sexy in this. Like,
but for me, the story is not there. The wrap up is way too quick. By the way, I looked at it and I was like, right, they're going through a cave, and then it was like, oh, there's 8 minutes left of the film. I'm like, what? I'm like, what?
I mean, to be honest, you should watch like the TV serial next and see how much of a slog that one is to get
It's
through.
too long, man. It's too long.
Exactly. Do you know that's why I prefer to watch the film, because it's not as long, and you just breeze through it. But plus, you've also got annoying Susan in the TV serial.
You need to watch the TV serial, Alex. It's honestly worth doing. It's obviously it's the first serial with a monster in it.
I think I would genuinely rather have like a stomachache than sit through 7 parts of Susan Foreman. Honest to God, I think that would be less.
I really hope it pops up in your review thing next. I really do.
I guarantee it will, knowing our luck. But yeah, But yeah, let's also talk about the fact that Susan in this, she gets a lot to do. I do like what she does. They kind of let her run off, and then she gets apprehended, accosted by this person who is like a. You need to explain this. So I my brain's fucked.
Well, he's one of the Thals, isn't he? So are you talking about sort of when she goes running back to the TARDIS?
Yep.
Yeah.
I know why I brought that up. So in this story, fucking Susan's on a drugs run. Like legitimately, she's on a drugs run.
She's a drug mule.
Yeah.
And the drugs are given to her.
She's like 8 years old.
She's more like a walking chemist.
Yeah. Yeah, she gets drugs by a superhero dressed drag queen. You know. Yeah. Why are all 1,000?
Yeah, so suddenly this Thal turns up. You okay, hun?
Yeah.
We need an edit of that now, I think.
But no,
Yeah.
it's just
Turn it into a GIF. The scene where he just opens the door and you see him. And just,
legitimately, it was like it was the scene where the Thal comes in. He's like, "I tried to speak to you earlier to hand you the drugs. Here's some more." I literally openly laughed at that dialogue. I was like,
"And here's some secret, and here's some special drugs to keep secret and hidden.
Yeah.
Don't tell the adult."
It's like, what the fuck? It's like they knew what they were doing. Is that Owen? You have to tell me. Obviously, Susan's a bit older, but is that a thing in the serial as well?
Yes, I believe it is.
They hand Susan drugs. Oh my god.
Yeah. Honestly,
they weren't just any. They weren't just any drugs. They're anti-radiation drugs.
Yeah, does she take them? Because then she might become a good character. Oh wait.
I mean, obviously, they all have to take it because they're all suffering from effects of radiation, where they're all just
they're all feeling a bit
they're all in a
loopy
prison cell, and they're all just sort of like starting to drop like flies.
Yep.
But yeah, so she ends up discovering the Thal and taking the anti-radiation drugs back to the Dalek city. So then she's got some for herself and the others, and then some for the Daleks because they're after some, so they can then leave the city outside of their casings. But that all doesn't go according to plan.
Which I thought was an interesting story. I mean, I know it's not an innovative one because it's been done, but I thought it was an interesting story. But I don't really want to talk about the story of the film because it's not original. You know, there are original elements, I'm sure, but I can't really go. Oh yeah, the script writing of the story was really good because they just ripped a television story. So it's kind of difficult to review this on a story level. You know,
I think we're just like basing it on looks, I guess, and aesthetic.
Yeah,
and,
it's looks, aesthetic. I will say
I
this.
think there is one thing about it that all future episodes with Daleks have basically knocked the very first Dalek story out of place. The whole thing that the Daleks were powered by static electricity, by having metal floors and everything, because Genesis of the Daleks. I mean, that's basically like, this is my point. This is where it knocks it out of place. They don't have any sort of like static or anything like that to use in this particular story, and it's certainly not mentioned either. So it just seems to me that the Daleks have, at some point, maybe during the war, lost their capabilities of moving unassisted, and then need static electricity or something like that.
Or maybe there's a budget cut, Just, the ones in the city aren't allowed that extra technology.
That's just sort of thrown that sort of thing off the axis, as it were.
Yeah, because Dalek Invasion of Earth, they add the thicker bases, which accommodates for that not having static. Then the little dishes on the back is like a radio signal, don't they?
Yeah.
And then the next time we see them is
the Chase.
The Chase, yeah, and they have the slats, and I think the slats are described as like solar panels essentially. So they're powered by like sun.
But even then, Genesis of the Daleks, they've got slats in that one. So
and they're in the bunker. Yeah, it's It's all over the place, but we don't question it because it's Doctor Who.
Continuity.
Continuity, yeah. Let's
big
not
fat
talk
continuity area. Don't think they thought that one through.
Exactly. Right. I think we need to talk about the cast changes. Right. So, first of all, Susan, much better. But I've always disliked Susan. So, you could put a pile of shit on the screen, to be honest, and it would be better. At least it wouldn't go, grandfather. The entire fucking episode. Get your shit together, Susan. This is not your time.
Yeah, so I feel Susan was probably better in this than poor Caroline Ford in the original serial. Ian, I think, was very dumbed down.
Ian and Barbara just not on the same level.
Good to be honest, I don't remember a single thing Barbara did in that episode.
What, in the film or the serial?
She's
film.
basically like the Yaz of today.
She,
or
the only
rather,
thing
the
I remember
Yaz
her
of them.
doing is picking up some porridge and spatting it over the Dalek's eye so they
Yeah.
can escape from him. That's all I can remember.
And also, yeah. So, yeah, but yeah, you're right. But let's talk about Doctor Who himself, Peter Cushing. What do we all think?
I love Peter Cushing. I think he's just amazing in anything he does.
I agree. I think he's definitely not going. He's going for like a Hartnell, but not Hartnell, but at the same time. So it's different.
Yeah,
and I like.
I mean,
that because
he's more of a scatterbrains. This one, I think.
He's a bit more like your weird uncle that's got has had too much coffee.
Yeah, and he obviously has the
just hyped up on
like
cocoa.
sort of stuff, doesn't he? Obviously with like
he has
grey
the
hair.
same like morals of Hartnell as well. Like
and he does the lapel thing.
Yeah, the way he speaks is very Hartnell as well. He speaks like William Hartnell would, obviously because the lines were written for William Hartnell, but he also
without
delivers them in a
and things. Yeah,
without the whole my dear stuff.
Yeah.
So I think he's great.
He plays it more straight, I think, rather than all the sort of catchphrasey, noisy stuff that Hartnell does. Not saying that it's bad, but it's more to the point in this. So, you can cut out half an hour of Hartnell speeches to get rid of all the hmms.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I thought Cushing was great. The costume was nice. Kind of wanted the jacket to be a bit longer, but can't have everything.
That's Macauly's review. The jacket was too fucking small.
Yeah, I'm known for my jackets.
Well, he wasn't wearing dungarees.
No, but yeah, in terms of like costume, they made it colourful. Along with obviously the Daleks, you get a really nice, beautiful red one. And obviously the city is all nice and colourful. You get your blues, your golds, your rose golds. They really went for this is in colour, we're going to go for it, and went all over the place, and it worked. It was really beautiful.
Wonderfully.
And the scale of it was amazing as well. Like in the serial, they're obviously filming a little studio, so you get those like little trees and stuff. But in this one, obviously, it's made in Hollywood, so you get the massive scale of the landscapes. You see the massive cliff tops. You see how far in the distance like the mountains and the landscapes are, and it gives you a real sense of danger when they're climbing up the hill or the cliff face, like sort of like third of the way in. And yeah, the danger just seems a lot more legit than the serial, which I really admire.
Yeah. So I think because I know it was filmed slightly different to any other film. It was shot on like a smaller film for budgetary reasons, which I think is why it's got that sort of like letterbox view, which I think it gives like those landscapes that amazing look, and yeah, I think just because they've shot it in that particular way works extremely well, and it comes out in HD very well as well. Yeah, and I just like the use of the colors as well. I mean, especially like when they're in the jungle and it's all lit up with the blues and the greens, and even the lighting effects of the storm that's going on, which I presume is probably triggered off by the radiation. And then you go into the city and you've got all the, as you say, all the rose golds and the reds and all those sort of like richer colours. So yeah, in terms of the looks of it does look amazing. And that red Dalek's it's got to be my favourite one out of all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I love the Dalek one.
Yeah. So there's one bit I really don't like the end of the film. I feel like obviously they were condensing it for good reason, because the other one's fucking long. But there's a scene in this film that makes no sense to me. And it might be in the original serial, it might not, where they go into the cave and Ian's got to jump. Ian's tied himself around the rope around his chest, like his abdomen area. And this guy jumps, misses it, and then starts to cut himself off to like essentially kill himself. And then lands is like, save me! It's like, what were you doing, you twats? Like, I watched that and went, what was the point of all of that?
Yeah, they had that in the serial as well.
It makes no sense. Like, ow! It's like he's a little twat anyway. She's like, I don't want to come, and the guy saves him, and then he does a jump, tries to kill himself. He's like, no, I don't want to die, but always kills Ian in the process. Twat. Twat. I just
Yeah.
watched that and I went, what?
I think it was with that particular character, it was just sort of pure hysteria because obviously he didn't want to face the Daleks.
So it's like I'd rather die at his own merits than get killed by a
Yeah,
Dalek, essentially. But I don't think that came across very well in the film, essentially.
yeah.
Because I didn't understand it either. But yeah, you've studied this film very religiously, Owen, so I think you understand it
I mean,
better.
I've watched it so many times. I think the first time I watched it was probably about 2005, 2006. So it was sometime shortly after Doctor Who came back, and my mum shouted out to me that the Dalek films were on TV. So I was like, oh, okay. So I watched them, and yeah, I love them. And they've always been a favourite of mine. And then sort of going back and watching sort of like the TV serials, and yeah, I just wasn't as keen on those as opposed to the movies, because they're a lot longer. And the first time I watched the TV serial of the Daleks Invasion of Earth, I fell asleep through it,
I haven't
which I
watched
think
that.
goes to show a bit.
I haven't watched that one either.
I'm
Yeah, it
going to
is
say
quite
that
long.
Dalek
So
Invasion of Earth is probably one of my favourite Dalek stories. It was one of the first ones I ever watched. I really enjoyed
It's
it.
too long. It's too long, man. It's too long.
Yeah, the story is great. I even have a poster in my bedroom of the Forbidden Bodies one. It's great.
yeah, it's forbidden to dump bodies into the river.
Yeah, it's also one of my favourite Dalek designs. I just love the larger bumpers that they have.
Yeah.
I just think they're cooler.
One bit as well that I found, obviously it's of its time, and this is why I'm not judging it too heavy. There was a scene where they plan this breakout, right? And they're out and they put Ian inside the Dalek, which is fine because at that point Dalek law was what have you, and I'm not blah, blah, blah. But they put him in so easily, but they can't get it off at all. And I'm like, the fuck? Like he got in like 10 seconds. But oh no, it's stuck. And somehow he gets himself out, but they can't help him. I'm like, what the fuck? Like again, it's the logic. And then somehow the lift goes up. It doesn't come. Oh, sorry, the lift goes down, but it's like, oh yeah, he's screwed. Somehow he got in it without the Daleks noticing. Again, it's just I like the whole tricking thing with him being inside the Dalek and him doing the whole voice. Like, I will take their prisoners. That's all great. But then it's the whole, oh no, we have to have a moment of peril here, so we can't do something really easy thing that I don't like.
I think they basically did exactly the same thing in the TV serial as well.
They did, yeah.
I don't like it.
And obviously we see that revisited later in The Witch is Familiar with Clara and Missy.
Yeah. Although I wasn't so keen, and someone did also mention this to me as well, was that I didn't quite like that the machine programs a Dalek to hate, or because like anything that Clara said, where she's trying to tell the Doctor it's her, and you just got the Dalek screaming exterminate, like the machine itself.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me, to be honest, because if you go back to Genesis, it's the mutants that are mutated and programmed to hate, not the Dalek casing.
The machine.
Yeah, unless in the time where it's cheaper or more easier viable option for them to put that in, like the programming essentially instead. Because I think now they're more sort of like machine-like programmed and stuff, like especially with all these extra weapons they've got installed with them and things like that. Compared to obviously like classic Who, where it's all just
I don't like.
I think they gave that.
I don't like the random smoke. Is that a thing in the serial as well? Instead of the exterminate, they just do smoke.
Yeah, so I put in the serial it's just like there's like a little felt thing that comes out of the gun like that, and it just sort of changes color slightly.
Yeah, they just sort of like invert the image.
Yeah, whereas like this one, it's like they've even built like one of those automatic air fresheners, like a bit of Glade or something.
Yeah, I think what they've used is basically a CO2 fire extinguisher and sprayed that out of it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that puts these Daleks down for me in the movie, because the design of them is great. It's a standard Dalek design. The colours are beautiful. Yeah, and I just love the bigger bumpers, and obviously the claws are great as well. It's just like there's a bit more menacing, especially when they sort of like grip like Ian or Susan by the neck with these claws. It's a bit more terrifying than the plunger.
Yeah.
It just adds that extra like fear. But then when they come out with their little air freshener guns, it's like nah, can't do it. And also, like,
I don't get the
yeah.
weird spinny claw thing either, because there's a really you had the car outside of there. There's someone ordered a Deliveroo or an Uber Eats or something. If so, why didn't you get some for the whole show? Oh, and have you got Nando's again?
No, I had pie mash this evening.
Nice.
I haven't eaten anything since 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
You must be very hungry.
I am, and I can't cook anything either. So it's my night is going to be
so
hell.
It'd be KFC for you.
No, I have no money, so it's also hell.
We'll put a donate.
Well, just ask Bank of Mum.
But like, Mum, I need some food. No.
Feed me. Or you better go rent to Nan and Granddad's, and because obviously
what at 10 o'clock at night? Yeah, randomly at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, I need food.
Yeah, just help yourself to whatever's in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
And then go away.
Exactly. I don't think that would go down particularly well. So
also not legal at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Don't be traveling to places where you shouldn't be, people.
I am technically allowed to go into my grandparents' house. I'm just not allowed to go near them because I live there shopping. So help put it into because it's kind of a strange thing. I can get low down, they can go high up. So it's sort of like I do all the low stocking because they've got such bad backs that if they try and bend down anywhere close, they will just like break.
Yeah. Anyway, so should we talk about the ending of the movie?
It's on crack, mate.
Yeah. So they're running through the corridors, obviously ambushing the Daleks. And obviously Doctor Who and Susan have been captured. So it's down to
I'm still not used to that, Doctor Who.
Yeah. So it's down to the Thals, Ian and Barbara to go and rescue Doctor Who and Susan and take down the Daleks, essentially, because the Daleks have set up a bomb. Is that right?
I think they've set like a countdown timer to blow up the Thal jungle or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that anyway.
Yeah, there's one thing that I sort of annoyed me slightly is that the Daleks, they're really fast, these Daleks in these corridors. They're proper
fast as fuck, boy.
Yeah, proper like, going down them. And they're saying stop to obviously Doctor Who and Susan and that lot. But they're not stopping, obviously, because why would you? Why are they not firing at them while they're running? Like, at the same time, it's just like
because plot convenience, Macauly.
Yeah, and then they also get in the lift, and then they fucking like blow up the lift floor as soon as they go up. Yeah, so it just feels like they can't multitask, these Daleks.
Yeah, for me, I didn't like the ending at all because it was too fast. Like I know they wanted to condense it down, but it could have done with 5 more minutes, even 10.
What would you have added?
Well, I don't know because I've not seen the original serial, but it just happens too fast.
They just spread out the ambush a bit more. So
spread out the final bits because it's like they're in a cave within 8 minutes to go, and then they're out of the cave 2 minutes later, and they're battling Daleks. It's like, what the fuck? What's going on? Like, they need more time to breathe a little bit. I feel like for example, there is a scene that I really like, which is definitely in the original serial, but I didn't like how Cushing plays it, which is a scene where the Thals, they don't want to fight. Well, the leader of the Thals like, we're not fighting. So the Cushing's like, we'll take your girlfriend to the Daleks. And there's this really good scene where he's like, oh, so you'll fight for something. And the delivery of that I thought was really good. Because like I said, I can't judge the writing of this because it was already written. But I thought the way Cushing played it, I can imagine him, obviously I can't really prejudge, but I can imagine in my head, he played it a lot lesser than what Hartnell would do. And I really like the subtlety to that. Apart from the cheeky wink. The cheeky wink sort of ruined it a little bit. But I thought that scene was superb.
I
But no,
think
the
with Cushing playing Doctor
Doctor
Who, I
Who.
think it. I mean, just
Every
like
fucking
Hartnell,
time, it's like I don't. It's uncomfortable, you know. It's
I mean,
weird.
just like Hartnell as the Doctor, and I feel that even more so with Cushing is that there seems to be a lot of twinkle and sparkle about his particular take on Doctor Who.
Doctor Who,
Um,
the
and
complete
it's you know
series
it's
eight.
just certain various reactions and things that he
Mm.
does and I mean even as Alex says where he does that that little wink to is it to Ian but yeah I just love little things like that and I think he just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I definitely think it's probably one of my favorite things about the movie is probably Cushing's performance and the Dalek designs. I just thought those were both, you know, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously they succeed with the Dalek City, and then we end like in the TARDIS essentially. So we get TARDIS. They don't call it the TARDIS; they call it TARDIS, which is another annoying thing.
It's like you know when you it's like when you try and be different for the sake of it. It just didn't need it.
I think they
Yeah,
had to probably like make it somewhat different to the TV serial.
yeah, because the
Um,
serial they call it the ship, don't they? They don't really call it TARDIS or the TARDIS. They call it ship. But go back to the
yeah,
ship thing. But I feel like because it's an American audience that haven't seen Doctor Who before, essentially it's drilling it into them the names and stuff, which it needs.
Yeah, I think overall this is not a bad film. Actually, I do enjoy it mostly. Like, I joke about the stuff that annoys me because it's silly. Like all of my issues are really, apart from the seat thing that still pisses me off. The weird stool that's the only thing that like, legitimately annoys me. But no, I think this is a decent film, and overall, I will enjoy it. I'll probably go back and rewatch it every now and then. I don't think I'll get. It's not one of those Doctor Who episodes that's too because again, it's only 70 minutes really, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. You watch it and you go, "That was all right." It's sort of like every one of those films I watch maybe once every couple of years or something. And I'm
Yeah, I could agree
excited.
with that. Oh yeah,
Hopefully, us three will come back for the second one eventually down the line. I don't think it will be a quick new podcast very in quick session, but um, just I think it'd be interesting to see what the second one's like. And also, it's got Bernard in it, so it's immediately a 10 out of 10.
yeah. We'll see. Yeah, but yeah, the ending. The bit I did quite like was when they come out of the TARDIS and they have that sort of Star Wars sort of themed award ceremony on the
Yeah,
Thals, where it's like they're all there in a row and they get greeted by all of these Thals and they walk up to like the leaders and they give them these Thal cakes as their reward. Although if Chewbacca was there, I feel like the Thals would give him a cape because he deserves it too. Much nicer than the rebels, I think. Yeah, they get their capes and then they fuck off back in the TARDIS, and then you get the cliffhanger, which is quite odd in a film. You get this weird point of view of these Romans that are too sort of like big coming at the doors, which would make you think that's the next film, but it isn't. So there's a lot of room there for
weirdness going on. Even though the next
yeah,
serial is Edge of Destruction anyway, so it doesn't even link with the show,
no.
right?
But I'm sure that's an avenue the movie era sort of universe can dip into via Big Finish.
I know that they did want to sort of like, I mean, Terry Nation, um, he wanted to have a Dalek series,
Yeah, I remember this.
um,
Yeah, because he had all the
and
Dalek
then
merch and stuff he tried to plug at that sort of time as well, wasn't it?
yeah, and then I think yeah, something happened, and then it just didn't happen in the end.
Hmm.
And I think maybe another movie was in the works. I'm not too sure. Um, but I think if they ever did it in like a way where as time went on, when you had Pertwee as the Doctor and then the Master came in, I think if they had the Master in, the Peter Cushing Doctor Who movies, I think the best person to have played the Master would have been Christopher Lee, because I mean
Yes.
you had Christopher Lee with Peter Cushing in more or less everything, all the Hammer horror films and things like that. But Christopher Lee always played the perfect sinister villain, and to have him as the Master, or a similar name of the Master, I think he would have been amazing.
Yeah, and I think
the not master. Let's call him the not master.
they're not master. Yeah, and I think a good representation of Christopher Lee being that sort of way. Sorry to bring it up again, but episode 2 of Star Wars in Attack of the Clones, where he's like with Obi-Wan in that scene, playing like opposites. It gives me that same sort of vibe. So I can picture it in my head. If you sort of switch that scene and place it in Doctor Who, I feel like it'd fit very well.
Yeah, I agree.
It's almost that like I want to be your friend, but at the same time I'm also your enemy sort of thing. It gives off that vibe.
Yeah. No, I get you with that, and I think
Yeah.
I think it'd be really good and really fun. I mean, look, there is precedent. People have asked for me to get everyone together and do like a Doctor Who story pitch meeting type thing. We all pitch our favorite Doctor, which could be a thing we do down the line to spruce things up eventually, which would be kind of cool. We all know that Owen would have the worst Doctor Who stories because they would all involve the Who shop being in peril and the Doctor coming into the Who shop and being like, how does this work? I'm real, but I'm not. And Owen would be the new companion at the end of the story. That's how his story would go. Am I right or am I right?
Well, there you go.
Am I right?
More merch with his face on it. That's all he wants.
Yeah, Owen Luckhurst with the yellow jumper and the really cool effect he's got on his new
the original Yellow Wiggle.
We're all original Yellow Wiggles. But is there anything else I want to say within this film before we give our rating scores? And I think it's going to be quite interesting. We give rating scores in this one. So when we go to the second film in a couple of months or what have you, to square
just
them
looking
up.
at some other facts about it. So
you were in it because you're that old. You were in it because you're that old.
So just looking up on the Wikipedia's. So it says here, Amicus bought an option to make the story and 2 sequels from Terry Nation and the BBC for £500. So obviously they're to buy the BBC to actually have the use of making the film,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, the Daleks were redesigned for the film specifically. What else we got? And I think also it's also around when Dalek Mania started as well, because I mean, even though kids were mad about the Daleks, when they first appeared, but I think the movies were so sort of big at the time. That's probably what kick-started it off. And I know with Dalek Mania, a lot of the branding on that is mainly the movie style Daleks on that branding.
I think because this is the first time we can see, especially within that time, you see the Daleks in crystal clear vision. I'm not saying that the 60s who look bad because it was what television looked like, but this would be, imagine seeing those creatures of this quality. I mean, obviously we got blue HD restoration, so we even see it a better quality, but imagine seeing them in color and vibrant, and it even makes them more scary, to be honest. And it makes them more menacing, I think, especially the red and gold and the isn't it black and silver as well? Isn't that the other one? So those look,
black, gold and silver, I think.
Black, gold and silver.
Yeah.
I'm not massively a fan of the blue, silver, gold. The one Macauly's got there, it's a bit of a mishmash. It's sort of like if you give a 5-year-old how they design a Dalek and they put almost every color into one. But no, overall, yeah. So let's go alphabetical order. So I'll go first. And I always say that. I always forget my name's A, so it never works. I always like to be like genuine and be like, oh, let's make it fair.
I've just also seen on here that the Dalek voices, which were actually uncredited, but David Graham voiced some of the Daleks. So he did some of the Dalek voices in the TV serials as well in the 60s. And David Graham, I think he was also the voice of Parker in Thunderbirds.
Yes.
So yeah, he would have done that sort of stuff with what do you call him? Jerry Anderson. Yeah, that's the name I was trying to think of.
I still
and
have no
also,
idea who the
yes.
fuck that is.
Jerry Anderson.
Jerry Anderson.
No.
Wow.
Thunderbirds. Captain
Thunderbirds,
Scarlet.
Captain Scarlet.
I've seen the
Stingray.
2003 Vanessa Hudgens version. I've not watched any of the Puppeteer stuff. Hang on,
It's
that's
on
got.
BritBox.
Hang
Do
on,
some
that's.
homework.
Hang on. That's got Sophia Miles in it. The 2000,
It
and
does.
that is a great film. That puppet shit cannot get anywhere close to the quality of the 2003 Thunderbirds film. You know.
Yeah, I'm
anyway.
not keen on the 2003 version.
You wouldn't be
Yeah,
because you
I
don't
prefer the
like.
original
You
series.
wouldn't be because you don't like fun.
Soundtrack by Busted.
So yeah,
Don't be mad, please stop. Banger, mate. Owen, do you like that song?
yeah, it's all right.
Oh my god, Owen, this one.
Um,
Anyway, Owen,
yeah, so
I'm
Doctor
gonna,
Who Daleks was
I'm,
also filmed in Shepperton Studios,
I'm
and I
gonna let you.
believe the original police box for it doesn't exist anymore because it was falling apart. They literally blew it up.
What?
Yeah, you'll also find out about that on also the Terry Nation Army videos if you watch that. And it was mistaken that that the police box we have in our shop was using Daleks Invasion of Earth. But Terry Nation's Army they've done their so Gav Rymil and the other chap who does it as well. Can't remember his name.
Kieran Hyman.
They've done their homework on police boxes and discovered that that our police box in the shop was used in, I think it was Ealing Studios. I think that's where it was used.
Go to the Who shop. Go check out the official Who shop YouTube channel. Owen's on it every week.
The only best place to get Doctor Who merch.
Owen's on the YouTube channel weekly, unless he's not, in which case I'm very sad. No offense, Alex. Like, you had a good episode, but it's not as funny as Owen because it makes me laugh. Can we bring the dog back? That's what I want. I want the dog. Can we get more dog action?
Yeah, we'll see.
That's what I want in life. Bring the dog in. Fuck you and Alex. Just let the dog host the weekly roundup. Put the subtitles.
We want to put Fluff in it, but because she literally bounds around the shop like a ball in a china shop.
Money can't ball. Sorry, had to do it.
You cannot get her to sit still. So yeah, it'd be pointless trying to get her into it at the moment. But it's perfect because he's 7 years old. He'd rather just sit there and sit upwards and just sort of start falling asleep.
Right. So Owen,
which probably most of your listeners, which are probably doing right now.
Why are you on here? First of all, Macauly insults the lack of audience I have. Now you're saying all my listeners don't enjoy it. What's the point? No, I'm done.
Bants, innit?
Wow.
That's it. So Alex Kingdom has now left the podcast. Alex Kingdom has been saved.
It's up to you now. It's up to you now, Owen. It's your podcast. It's up to you now. Now it can become the official Who Shop podcast because Owen will do it. They'll be like,
yes, stuff. Doing a bloody YouTube and running a podcast at the same time. I'd have no life. Yeah.
So do you think I have a life? Yeah, I'm gonna get Owen to go first because he's information man. I feel like start positive and then slowly, see where we end up. Out of 10, Owen. Give a summary and out of 10. Give a summary and out of 10. Macauly had it right there. That's the best way of doing it.
Okay. So I mean, it's always been a favourite of mine. I'd give it a 8 out of 10.
I'm in between two, and you probably think it's lower than it is.
So, do you want me to go next, Alex, so you can refine your answer?
Yeah, I'm gonna see based on where you are, and then I'll.
yeah, so obviously we watched this movie because I said I'd never watched it before. So, well, I have watched it many times, but only the first 10 minutes, and I've never got past it. But this time, plowed through. So originally, I wouldn't have given it a score. I wouldn't give it a time of the day. But after watching it today, I've definitely gone up in my estimates, and I would stick with Owen and go with an 8 as well. It's not perfect, but if you set aside the little bit at the beginning that I'm not too sure on, I think it's a great film. It's really enjoyable. And the look of it is amazing.
Yeah, I'll go 7 because I know I complain a lot, but everything I complained about was just little niggles that just made me laugh. Like whenever there'd be little story things where like the Ian thing getting in out the Dalek is the main thing. It's like, well, it just makes no sense. He got in so easily but couldn't get out. The seat thing still does annoy me though. That still makes no sense. And I like the Daleks are so smart, but that Lord. What? I still don't get it. How do they use that door? Like, what are they doing? No, I think I'm excited to watch the second one. If that's even better, I'm excited to watch that because
it is.
Because I'm excited to see. Well, it's not got Ian. It's not. Has it got Ian and Barbara in it? Because I know they get replaced. Don't they?
No, Ian and Barbara.
Does it have
So
season?
you've got Bernard Cribbins in it instead.
And what's his character's name?
PC Tom Campbell.
Okay. Nice.
Well, there we
That's
go.
Completely different storyline.
Anything we want to plug, chaps?
We'll start with Macauly. He's at the top now.
With me, okay, brilliant. Plug-in wise, there's nothing I want to plug essentially.
Your phone charger?
You can plug in my phone charger. Probably the iPad charger.
Are you not going to post to YouTube anymore, Macauly? Is that dead in the water now?
Probably. No. You can follow me on Twitter.
I got power rollers for nothing. I think we're going to start a new power roller trend.
I will do it. I just need the time and things to do. I've got a laptop coming on its way, so I can actually do things like editing and stuff. I'm energizing my photography. I started taking more pictures and stuff, so I was waiting for this laptop to arrive so I can start editing them and post them, and then I can start the videos and stuff. But you can follow me on Twitter at Macauly Cairns. I'm sure Alex will tag it in the tweet that you.
I always do. I always tag it in the tweet. It's always in the descriptiones.
Yeah. Always posting about new merch and stuff, which is always fun. That's it, really.
What about you, Owen? Oh, who cares? Anyway, thank you all for watching. No, obviously, go check out the Who Shop. New merch every week. Go check out the official Who Shop YouTube channel. As well. There'll be a link to both in the description.
Don't forget to follow me with
oh no, go fuck that. Dr. Disco.
Dr. Disco 63
on Twitter,
and
Instagram,
but
TikTok,
I'll get tagged anyway.
TikTok, LinkedIn, Bebo, Tinder. He's even on called that on Tinder.
MySpace.
Not that you
Pixo.
Pixo. What the fuck is that?
Oh, this is like, oh god, it's like long since
MSN,
the dawn of time, way before Bebo and Facebook.
MSN.
Everything was all covered in glitter.
Anyway,
and DS download play.
There we go. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining us.
LimeWire.
Me and Owen will be back next week, if my estimations are correct, with our drunk watch along plus review at the end of it of The Haunted Diamond, which me and Owen will film at some point, but not today because my voice is fun.
Praise him.
Praise him.
Praise him.
Anyway, sorry, I got lost in a trance there. I started praising and it maybe have a moment. But thank you all for watching, and I shall catch you all soon. Take care. Macauly will be back soon with Spider-Man. Eventually, we're almost there, so he'll be there to chat some. Only because it's Tom Holland, really. That's why I wanted to do it, but it's fair. Yeah. Fair.
Pull me out like that. How dare you?
Look, I don't think anyone's going to judge you for that. It's Tom Holland. To the end of this podcast, it's Tom Holland's great. Go check out Tom Holland.
Okay. And cut.